Don't know, my name is Joe Walsh. I am a Republican. I'm challenging Donald Trump in the Republican primary. I'll answer your questions in a minute about anything, not just about what's going on here, but if you've got questions about any issue, I'd be happy to answer. We are, 11, 12 days away from the caucus? From the caucuses. We've spent a lot of time here in Iowa. I grew up in Illinois, born and raised in Illinois. I've got Iowa roots. I went to Grinnell College for 2.5 years. I'm a Hawkeye. I graduated from the University of. My mom was born and raised in Davenport, Iowa. I would spend my summers in Iowa. I love Iowa. I've been spending a lot of time in Des Moines. I really like Des Moines as well. But I won't get into the politics of why I'm challenging Donald Trump. Many of you probably know why. I'd be happy to answer your questions if you want to know why. But it's projects like this that really get me excited. It's projects, it's innovative, entrepreneurial things that are going on at the state, but mostly the local level. I've always believed this is how we fix problems in this country. I'm running for president, so if I were to get elected, I'd be in Washington, D.C. I'm someone who doesn't believe Washington, D.C. has got the answer to all the problems. I think people here, I think you know a hell of a lot more about what's going on here than I do. So if I were president, I'd get everybody out of your way and I'd let you do your thing. And that's kind of what Ray has done here. And the thought of you being able to get your hands on these sites so that other people all over Iowa could do what you're doing, and the issue of flooding, which is a major issue in this state, the issue of the nitrates in the soil, which is a major issue. I'm a Republican. I don't believe climate change is a hoax. I'm a Republican. I think we got to be good stewards of our environment. But again, I want the people who are smarter than I am to have the resources to do what they need to do. And this issue, Ray, of solving the problem, the issues in the soil, and then the way you're bringing together veterans and students to work at co-ops like this, this is just like my dream. These are the kinds of things we need all over this state, and I'd say all over the country. So one note on climate and environment, and then I'll open this up to any question you got under the sun. No pun intended. I am a Republican. And when it comes to the environment and when it comes to climate change, I'm raising my hand to apologize to, and I don't know any of your politics, but when it comes to climate change, as a Republican, I always feel the need to apologize to my audience because I am part of a party right now that's in denial. We have an idiot in the White House, and Donald Trump doesn't know the first thing about anything. So when Donald Trump says climate change is a hoax, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He just doesn't understand things. But my party, smart people, like my former members of Congress, my former colleagues, I'm a former congressman, Republicans in the House and the Senate, they know climate change is real. They know we got to take care of the environment. They're afraid to say that because of the guy in the White House. And so I want to apologize to you on behalf of my party because my party has been missing at the scene. We've got to get with everybody else and have a seat at this table because right now the only people sitting at the table to figure out what we're going to do about climate change and the environment are Democrats. Republicans are over in that corner saying it's a hoax, it's a hoax, it's a hoax. So if we can get Trump out of the way and more Republicans can encourage my party to sit at this table with the Democrats, with other experts, with people in the private sector, in the business community, activists, and yes, people in government, and we figure out what we need to start doing now so that 100 years from now, when I'm long gone, you'll still be around, I think, in 100 years. we will have addressed some issues. The weird thing about climate change is, oh, come on, Joe, the world's not going to end tomorrow, right? We all get that attitude, but we have to do things now for what's going to happen 100 years from now. And that's what too many politicians in my party don't get. So, Ray, thank you. You three students, thank you. James, thank you. Ray, I make a pledge to you. If I'm in the White House, you can come visit me all the time. That's a given. You and I'll come grow stuff right outside the White House. If I'm in the White House, even if I don't win, I want to become a voice, my friend, to promote what you're doing here.
We need your help.
Oh, man.
We need a voice.
I want to help be that voice, no matter what happens to me politically. Done. That's a deal.
I have the first question, because I want you to expound a little bit more about how you support.
And by the way, a question about anything. It doesn't have to be about this.
Okay, the co-ops would be a farmer-owned. They'd be like maybe a milk producing factory, producing or processing grain,
Right.
Processing meat, whatever else, and having a warehouse system to distribute all this, and also all the sharing equipment. I mean, these would be building the economy of the urban areas, and I'd like you to expand a little bit more about why you support the idea of co-ops.
If this doesn't make sense, I apologize. I don't remember where I was campaigning. It might have been outside of Waterloo a week ago, and the gentleman told me there are no more dirt farmers in Iowa. And what he meant was, we've got these big, Iowa's become almost full of big corporate farms. Big, giant corporate farms. There aren't enough small farms anymore. We've got to figure out a way, James, and I think it's through projects like this, alternative farming, alternative ways and methods to farm. And I think as well there should be some state and local resources that can help spring these things into action. Questions about anything? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Samantha Kuhn, and I'm with a climate change organization, Bold, Iowa.
Say that, what's it called?
Bold, Iowa.
That's kind of a cool name.
Now, here's my question to you. As you've already said, the Republican Party is in denial when it comes to climate change. The majority either think it's a hoax or that climate change is not man-made whatsoever. What plans do you have if you get into the White House? How do you envision convincing the Republican Party to get behind the climate change issue after all this propaganda and brainwashing?
I actually think it'll be easy. You know why? Because if the Republican Party doesn't get on board and acknowledge that this is a real issue, there may not be a Republican Party. I have been blown away by, even when I'm in audiences of young Republicans, young conservatives, this is always the number one or number two issue that comes up. If the Republican Party doesn't acknowledge the reality of this, young voters just simply won't vote Republican. And old white guys like me who always vote Republican, we're going to die soon. Eventually old white guys die, and there will be no Republican Party left. So for political reasons, Republicans, I think, know that they need to get on board. Here's the other thing. Part of why I'm so disappointed in my Republican Party is this. I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. I think he's nuts. I think he's unfit. He can't tell the truth. He's incapable of putting the nation's interest ahead of his own. I'm profoundly disappointed in my Republican colleagues in the House and the Senate, many of whom believe about Donald Trump what I just said. Privately, they believe that. They're afraid to say it publicly. I know most Republicans in Congress know climate change is a real issue. They're afraid to say it because they don't want to anger the president. So I believe that once we can get the president out of there, all of a sudden, you'll see more Republican courage.
So you think there'll be just a turnover once he's gone?
I don't think it will take as long as you think, because I think privately, they've acknowledged this is an issue that politically, we need to get on board with, and substantively, there's something there.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think there's more hope there than you think. Questions, guys, about anything? Yes, sir.
What do you think about the immigration now that's going on right now?
What do I think about the immigration issue and all that's going on right now? It's really pretty simple. The answer is simple. Both political parties have to come together and figure out an answer. Most people view me as an immigration hawk. And what does that mean? That means I want anybody who wants to come to America for freedom and opportunity and a better life to come here. I don't give a damn what color you are. I don't care what language you speak. I don't care where you come from. If you want what America is, we welcome you, but come here legally. Come here legally. And that's kind of the rub. Our immigration system's broken. It takes way too long to come here legally. It costs way too much money to come here legally. We should open up the gates and make it a hell of a lot easier for people to come here legally. That's number one. We always want to secure our border so that people aren't just jumping across the border. But then people who come here seeking asylum. And by the way, when you come here seeking asylum, and I'm a border hawk, I want you coming here legally. People who come here seeking asylum, that's a legal act. That's a legal act. They should be treated differently than people who just run across the border. Those are people who've entered our country illegally. Everybody needs to be dealt with humanely. But if you're coming to seek asylum, that's all. America's always welcome then. Donald Trump, build the wall, Mexico's going to pay for it. That's all he knows how to say. We need smart Republicans and Democrats to come together to figure out all of these issues and what to do with DACA and all the dreamers who are here. It's all got to be put together. Yeah, exactly. And both sides got to give a little. The Republicans got to give a little on embracing young people who came here through no fault of their own. And Democrats need to give a little on making sure our border is secure. Fist bump me. It's not hard. It all takes is a little courage.
I expand upon that. There's another part of that issue that you haven't talked about. There's a lot of people who have come here to serve and gone to Afghanistan and Iraq because of the problems of citizenship. And now Donald Trump is sending them back home.
If you put on the uniform and you serve this country, you're an American citizen. Next question. That's easy.
Automatically.
If you put on a uniform and you serve this country, you're an American citizen. Any questions, guys, about anything? Yes, sir.
I'm originally from China, and China has a lot of human rights issues, but I think that America has a human rights crisis. That not only country in the world, the children cannot guarantee the home, guarantee return home safely because the gun mass shooting doesn't happen in any other countries, only in this country. There is not any other single countries your students, your children will be very dangerous when they go to shopping mall, go to campus, go to school, and mass shooting happen almost daily life.
Mass shootings.
Yeah, so many candidates, Democratic and Republican candidates talk a lot, and I think they have been talking in the last 10, 20 years. I didn't see any effective way. What's your solution? I don't want them still talking for another 20 years until 2 million people die.
What's my solution to mass shootings?
Yeah.
I don't think I have one. I'm not gonna lie to you, and I'm not gonna sound like a politician. Oh, I can stop mass shootings. That's crazy. I don't have.
How can other people, other countries do not have mass shooting?
I think what America has to wrap its arms around is that We do have a mental health issue in this country. And we have like a problem in this country in that we don't treat mental health issues like physical health issues. I don't think, and go ahead, Ray.
Mental health is also related to nutrition.
True.
Especially at an early age.
That's a good point.
In the past 10 years, only 4 Iowa counties have reduced the percentage of children living in poverty. Yet we talk about our exports. We aren't feeding our own kids. So part of our issue is that with the veterans who serve their country, we want to take this project and go serve our communities and help those kids get a start. But it begins with nutrition.
That's a great point.
That's local food that's allowed to ripen.
But not avoiding your, Ray, thank you, but not avoiding your question. Look, let me finish and then jump in. I'll give you the final word. Gun violence in this country the last 30 or 40 years is down. Gun violence, incidents of mass shooting in this country is up. So there's something different going on here. And I think the country's not doing a very good job. Families and communities and schools and extended families are not doing a good enough job identifying people who need help and identifying people who may be susceptible to being the instigator of a mass shooting. I'll bring up one issue, though, one gun-related issue. This issue of red flag laws. I'm a big Second Amendment guy. And I've got guns, and I'm a big gun guy, and I mean that in a positive sense. Red flag laws are, though, where a member of a family or a member of law enforcement might believe that somebody within that family may be a danger to themselves or their family or their community. There is a mechanism where law enforcement can come in and temporarily seize that person's firearms until the proper authorities can figure out if that person should have a gun. 17 some states have these red flag laws. I think that's one reform, if you're really focused on guns, that we could look at. I'll give you the final word.
My final words is that I don't agree the mass shooting can be blamed for the mental health issue, because mental health issue exists in every other single countries. And not only other countries in the world have mass shooting on campus. So this country, I think that some special interest group always use the gun control issue as their money, and they are too greedy. I think it's not a mental health issue. It's a special interest group.
Shake my hand. You and I kind of disagree on that, but I appreciate the question, my friend. Thank you. I will say this, I think we agree on this, and I'm a big gun guy. We should do whatever we can to make sure people who shouldn't have guns don't. That's what we should be focused on. Not taking away guns from law-abiding Americans. Yes, sir.
Yes, I just wanted to get your thoughts on, obviously it's a very complex issue, the overuse of opioids and the increase in deaths. Do you view this as a mental illness issue, or more is it something that should be outside the criminal law? How do you view that?
I generally believe when it comes to drugs and drug usage, as much as possible, I don't want it to be a criminal issue. As much as possible, I don't, and maybe I'm not going where you wanted me to go. Yeah, I think for too long, we've locked up people. Our jails have been full of too many nonviolent criminals, people who are there because of drugs. That's one issue. I think we need to get away from that. I'm somebody personally, guys, who would legalize marijuana. But I generally don't want our prisons filled up with people who are just there for drug offenses. I think that's an issue. I want our jails focused on violent criminals. Look, when it comes to opioids, it is a mental health issue. We have been over prescribing these drugs for a long, long time. I think we need to look at the companies who have been pushing opioids down us. I think that's a role for government to investigate that. But I've been spending a lot of my time in Iowa and New Hampshire. It's a crisis in New Hampshire, opioids. I mean a crisis, it's like an epidemic. It's a big, big issue. And it's like this in that my philosophy is people on the ground in New Hampshire, in these local communities, some of these organizations, they know how to deal with this issue and this problem. They just need resources. They need resources.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, guys? Yes, sir.
Teens and vaping and all the changes
That's a cool issue. And I don't mean cool, good, or bad, but this whole vaping issue. I'm loath, I don't want the government to outlaw vaping. That's what my gut tells me. Because I know a lot of people who vape, and it helps them get off of cigarettes. So tobacco. So that should be a good thing. So I don't know that I want, I'm all about as much education about vaping, but I don't want, what did, Luce help me? Didn't Trump approve a ban on flavored vaping? Didn't he finally do that?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable with that because so many people vape for good reasons with good benefits to get them off of what they were on. I think there needs to be a hell of a lot more education. Where are you on vaping?
Well, I was just wondering, like, when like kids who are starting to get sick and get illnesses, like, would you do something about that? Change anything?
Well, yeah, but again, you have to be how old to vape? 21? Yeah, I mean, so it's,
So it did change.
again, we treat it like we treat alcohol and tobacco products and all the rest. And we've got to be firm about, enforcing those age limits. Yes, sir.
You mentioned a few reasons, but what are the more principal reasons why you're running against Trump?
Why am I running against Trump? It's my favorite question. Thank you. Look, guys. I'm from Illinois. I'm a one-term congressman, and after I lost, I went on the radio for all of last year. I believe Donald Trump is unfit. I believe he's a threat to this country. I really, truly believe that. All of last year, I pleaded with another Republican to run. A better Republican than me. Come on, Mitt Romney, John Kasich. Somebody challenged this guy. Nobody stepped up. And so right before Labor Day last year, I did. It's the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. I gave up my life. I get threats every day. All of the people who used to like me, now because I'm against Trump, they can't stand me. I'm doing it because I really believe he's a threat. We have a president who, what's the old adage? Every politician lies, every politician spins. We've never had this. We have a guy in the White House right now, and I don't care what your politics are. We have a guy in the White House right now who lies. Think about this, young people. He lies almost every time he opens his mouth. It's wrong, but it's dangerous. And we have a guy in the White House right now who I believe is incapable of putting the country's interest ahead of his own. And all you got to do is look at this Ukraine thing. It's not complicated. This Ukraine thing is easy. What is the Ukraine thing all about? Donald Trump forced the head of Ukraine to help him cheat in the 2020 election. Donald Trump held up military aid to an ally to force that ally to help him cheat. He was placing his own interests ahead of the nation's interests. I'm a conservative, but he believes he's a dictator. He believes he's above the law. That's what our founders feared. I believe it's that serious. If I just disagreed with Trump on some issues, I hate his tariffs. I think tariffs are bad, and tariffs, by the way, are hurting farmers in Iowa. Donald Trump is increasing the debt way faster than Barack Obama did. But if I just disagreed with Trump on some issues, I wouldn't be taking him on. It's too hard. I fundamentally believe he's a threat to the country. Thank you. Anything else, guys? I'm only going to allow 13 more questions. That's it.
I've got one.
Hold on, James, you're done.
No.
Hold on, let me go here first.
All right, last. Hi, I'm Joe Hart. I'm a press media person.
You're a Joe?
Yeah, Joe Hart.
You're a good guy.
Hey, I like your name. Yes, for
Every
sure.
Joe is a good guy.
And I live stream. I don't work for anybody. I live stream my own stuff. I like to verify things online 2 or 3 times before I think it might be the truth, and I must admit, I only found this comment once, so it's not really verified. And it was Wikipedia, which isn't the most reputable place to get information.
Oh boy.
But I read of a story that you were given a label, and supposedly the quote you said is, "I'm not that label," but on Twitter I may say it. I may have said it a couple of times.
Cut to the chase. What did I say?
They said you were a racist.
That I'm a what?
A racist? And you said, "No, I'm not a racist, but I tweeted a couple racist things on
So
Twitter."
let me explain.
Sorry.
I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. I've got a graduate degree from the University of Chicago focused on urban poverty. I spent a lot of my prior life working on the south side of Chicago, working with low-income, primarily Black and Hispanic kids, helping them with their job opportunities and their education. I have always been obsessed with the issue of race. I love the issue of race. It's always bothered me that Black Americans and white Americans don't talk to each other about issues of race. So oftentimes, because I talk a lot about race, sometimes I'll push some envelopes. Sometimes I'll say some provocative things to get people started. I want people talking about issues. And you'll notice in America, people are afraid to talk about race. I used to have a podcast called Uncomfortable Conversations. I'm a white guy. I was a white radio guy and a Black radio guy from Chicago. He and I would get together for 1 hour every week, and we'd go at it. I mean, respectfully, about different issues. Like, how come white people look at police officers this way and Black people look at police officers that way? We'd have fascinating discussions like that. And because I'm very outspoken, sometimes people would think, oh, Joe Walsh is a racist. I love the issue of race, and I want people talking about race. Thank you for the question. Mean it. Thank you. Hey,
It's not a question, it's comments. And you have to agree with me for these comments because you are the best candidate. The reason you are the best candidate for both parties of Democratic and Republican because you graduate from Iowa colleges. And
Hawkeyes, go Hawkeyes!
You are the only one. You are the only candidate graduate from Grinnell College and University of Iowa.
I graduated from the University of Iowa in 1941. I didn't. You thought about it though. You thought, he looks so a little older than that. Hey everybody, get home safe. God bless you. James, I'll answer your question in private. Thank you. Thank you everybody.